Welcome to the Patterson Library Connection. In this episode of our podcast, we'll share good news and library happenings, talk to fun and interesting guests, and connect with our Patterson community. Remember that Putnam County is home. Regardless of what may make us different as individuals, it is our respect for each other as neighbors, our desire to step up and serve, to lend a hand, and leave this beautiful county better off than we found it. This is what makes this place so special. It is with that in mind that we as a county government are here to serve, and will always serve, with a desire to do better. Those are the words of today's guest, Putnam County Executive Kevin Byrne. Listen to hear what he has to say about living in Putnam County, his work as a county executive, and his plans and initiatives for the county and its residents. I'm Lily Misenti, the Director of Marketing and Programs here at the library. Thanks for joining us. Now let's get started. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Lily.
How are you doing?
I'm having a busy summer. How about you?
Same. And it's been a while since we've actually had a recording.
That's
here.
right. Yeah, I have to get back into it.
Yeah. We had stacked a few episodes and recorded them within a month's time. So it's been a little bit.
That's right. That was a smart thing to do, given how crazy things have gotten. So
yeah,
we did the right thing there.
I think so, too. So summer's going well?
It's going by so quickly, which is, a good thing and a bad thing. And we've just been working hard, but playing hard too, trying to get out there and do some fun excursions and, do the whole summer fun thing. But there's just so much to do. There's so many options.
Yeah, there are. So actually yesterday we did something that has been on my bucket list for a long time. Yes. I finally got up to the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah. It was amazing. It was such an incredible day trip. I would encourage everybody to go, even if you're not a baseball fan. It was just so inspiring. And what a great museum. Just aside from the memorabilia that was on display, the people, the town, I felt like I stepped onto a Universal movie set.
Oh, really?
The whole town is baseball. There was Shoeless Joe shop and Mantle's shop and Carl Yastrzemski's shop. It was like everything is about baseball. And it just was really cool. It was just such a great day trip. And there's Doubleday Field and just a really cool little downtown area and a great museum, great people.
I went there when I was in Boy Scouts, I think. We did the Boy Scout trip. I mean, that must have been like 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll have to go back and update it. Yeah.
Oh, you have to take your little guy. I really don't know why we've never done the trip. I think from here it was about 2 hours and 45 minutes and a beautiful ride. Yeah. It was.
You get stuck
really
in traffic longer than that going to Long Island. So
exactly.
Why?
So well worth the trip. Just so glad we went. It was really an amazing day. So great thing to do this summer. If anybody's looking for something fun to do, it was really worth the ride. So how about you?
Well, one thing that happened recently is we went to some concerts. So this was a bit of a dramatic journey here. So I grew up in Billy Joel, growing up in New York, Billy Joel's here. I remember my brother-in-law came up from D.C. the first time with my sister when they came up to visit, and there's Billy Joel over the radio. And he's like, "What's going on? Did Billy Joel die?" I'm like, they're like, "No, just welcome to New York." Yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong. So my wife bought me Billy Joel tickets. I thought I would never get to see him. Like, he was the reason I started playing music. He was my first cassette tape. He was my first CD. And a big reason why I got into playing piano and then everything else that happened. So I always wanted to go see him play, but like the price of tickets were crazy or we weren't available. So she surprised me with tickets to see Billy Joel in Syracuse, actually. So we're going to go up to there. And for the same price as going to MSG, we were getting the whole weekend, the Airbnb, etc., good seats. Yeah. And, it was going to be him and some guy opening for him named Sting. So, not nothing concert. So that unfortunately was canceled because, and some people may not know, but a lot of people do. Billy Joel was diagnosed with a brain disorder. So he's off the road right now. And I was just like, man, I can't believe it. They first delayed it for a year, but then they just canceled it. So that was a huge letdown. In some ways, I would have loved to see him, but like the gift of it and the excitement was really more important.
Yeah.
So we said, all right, well, we wanted to go a big concert. Why don't we do something different? So the week of, we decided to buy tickets to see The Weeknd in MetLife Stadium, New Jersey. And that's a different,
Totally
thing from
different.
Billy Joel. Very different. I mean, there's a path between them, and stuff, I'm sure. So we went to do that, and I haven't been to a stadium concert like that either ever or for a long time. And it was ridiculous. It was absolutely, and we weren't the oldest people there, but we definitely weren't the youngest, and we were in the nosebleeds, and it was, there was pyrotechnics, there was, like fireworks going off. The stagecraft was amazing. You definitely see the trajectory from Michael Jackson. He's pulling a lot of things from that in the best of ways. It was a pretty phenomenal show. Really, I should say it was the weekend featuring the teenage girl 2 rows behind us, because she just sang, just screamed, and the whole time until her voice wore out about 3 hours in. But it wasn't I loved it. I loved like getting to be part of something where you see someone having that passion, where it's their first band, it's their first favorite thing. They know all the lyrics and it means so much. Like, I remember what that was like when I was a teenager. So getting to live vicariously through that girl sitting 2 rows behind it was great. So that was our big thing we did recently.
Well, that sounds fun. And hopefully you will get to see Billy Joel someday.
I hope so.
I hope he gets
feels
back on
better.
the road.
Yeah,
me too. Wishing
I think
the
we
best
all
for
would.
him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did get to see him.
Oh, yeah?
And he was incredible.
I mean, he's Billy Joel. It's
he's
for a reason.
He's an entertainer, and just aside from the amazing songs and his voice is, but he was just such a gracious host. That's what it felt like. He played. It was his residency at MSG 2 years ago, I think, and I felt like we were watching him in his living room, and he talked to you, and it was amazing. I really felt like it was like spending the night with Billy Joel. Like, you got to be a guest in his
dinner
home.
party.
That's what it felt
It's like, let's go out to the piano room now.
And
let's
then
just
the
play.
music was almost extra. It was that great. He's that gracious as an entertainer. So yeah, I hope you do get to see him. He's amazing.
Well, we're going to try. So
wishing the best for him.
Feel better,
Hopefully
Billy
he gets
Joel.
back on the road. Yeah,
I'll see you when you get better, and we want those. Call Sting too. Get Sting back together.
Yeah, that would be
we
awesome.
want to see both of you.
Another one of my favorites.
Yeah. So anyway, some bad news and some good news there.
Yeah. Well, now it's time for our good news. Our construction project is moving right along. The 2 new reading nooks are complete, and we're now getting ready to move indoors for the next phase of the project. The library will be closed for a few days the week of August 4th to move the shelves and furniture into our community room for storage. After that, the main library will be closed to the public through early October as work begins on the major interior improvements. We'll have new lower shelving, upgraded HVAC system, updated energy-efficient lighting, fresh carpeting, and a new coat of paint with beautiful new colors, and some new furnishings. The library will still have the same warm, welcoming feel, just with an exciting new look and updates to make your experience here even better. In the meantime, the Family Center will remain open, with the exception of those first few days in August, with our circulation staff operating out of our cafe. You can still request books and order them online, and they will have them ready for you to pick up. Copying, scanning, and faxing will still be available, and our Medicare and Tech Help will still be on, and we'll meet in our green room. As for programs, you won't be disappointed. We have a fantastic lineup of programs for both kids and adults. Adults can be outdoors in our beautiful library park and enjoy programs like yoga classes, a series of art workshops, a picnic and poetry event with Tony Howard, a nutrition class on our garden patio. We also planned a few fun excursions off-site, including a trip to Magazzino Italian Art Museum in Cold Spring and visits to Pauling's Blue Olive and Pauling Coffee Roasters to learn all about olive oil and roasting coffee. We are also holding an e-waste collection where you can drop off screens, phones, printers, toner cartridges, and so much more for the next few weeks. And you can see a list of acceptable items on our website. So there's still a lot happening here at the library. For the kids, we're still going to have a lot of programs. Just visit the website calendar for the latest information. It's going to be a fun summer. And when we reopen, we'll have a fresh, fabulous library waiting for you. And that's our good news. I'm excited to welcome our guest, Putnam County Executive Kevin Byrne. Thank you for joining us on the Patterson Library Connection.
Thank you for having me.
So you grew up in Putnam County and graduated from Carmel High School. You then went to school in Pennsylvania, and soon after you graduated college, you stepped into the world of public service. And by the time you were in your early 30s, you were a New York State Assemblyman representing the 94th District. That's very impressive. Did you always know you wanted to be in public service?
I don't think so. I was drawn to it probably in my early years as a high school student in Carmel. I was very involved in student sports, and I was a student athlete and in sports. Had a pretty bad spine injury, so I focused more of my energy with the Boy Scouts of America and some other activities I did. Learned how to play the bagpipes, which was like a random skill and talent. But I think Scouts instilled a desire in public service for me. And then as a college student, I always wanted to join the military. So I was in the Army ROTC program. Unfortunately, I couldn't ultimately join because of those spine injuries that I had in high school. But I kept the military science minor as part of my academic curriculum. So in order to get that minor, it required an internship. And the internship that I chose was an opportunity to serve with our then Congresswoman Sue Kelly. So that's what really kind of, I think, drove my desire towards public service and got my first real exposure to those in elected office.
That's really something. Yeah, when I was looking over the information to do this podcast and I was doing a little bit of research, I was really impressed by how much you have done at such a young age. You have really been in every aspect of the county government and state legislative branches. So you have really been very involved. And as an assemblyman and now county executive, you have introduced legislation and policies to address issues you feel impact the lives of your constituents. What are some of the most significant opportunities for change you see right now for Putnam County residents?
Well, one of the things when I first said I was going to run for county executive that I was going to aspire for was to make Putnam County a more affordable, accountable, and accessible county for all. And that's very consistent with the mission and drive that I brought to the state legislature when I ran for the assembly. That was back in 2016. I very much felt that we were losing a generation of New Yorkers, people fleeing the state of New York for more affordable opportunities outside. But the reality is, in New York, I have more opportunities to make a more direct and meaningful impact right here at a more local level and in county government. So we've done a lot of these things already, but the opportunity is always there, because anyone that serves in elected office should always have the attitude that they should strive to do better. No matter how much good that we do, and hopefully, we get a lot more good accomplished, whoever succeeds me should have that goal to do even better than me. And that's the attitude I think that everyone should take and not be offended by it. It's not a criticism on those that are here before us. It's just aspiring to do better. So making life more affordable, we've lowered the tax rate in the county government, in the tax levy, to its lowest rate in 18 years. We lowered the tax burden in the budget for the first time in 25 years. We've relied less on borrowing. We've made sales tax less regressive by opting into a new exemption that eliminated sales tax on clothing and footwear under $110. We've just ventured into a new historic agreement with our towns and villages for revenue sharing. So some of that sales tax revenue can now more directly impact town and village infrastructure, our schools, our libraries, our hospitals, every level of government, every part of the community, our businesses. They all rely on our transportation system, our infrastructure. So those are investments that are well needed and deserved. But also, I say affordable, accountable, accessible, making elected servants more accountable. We do that by sharing more information online, making public meetings more accessible to people of every ability, of every age. We have public meetings now from the legislature that are live streamed online. There was a lot of people, including me, that had to push hard for that for several years. They're now doing that. It's a big deal. We live stream my public hearings before I sign a local law. I just did one yesterday, an exemption for volunteer firefighters and EMS. But then also it's accessibility. It's about making our public facilities more accessible for people of every ability. And when we live stream public meetings, I think about our seniors, people that may be hearing impaired. So you shouldn't have to go to a meeting to participate. You shouldn't have to participate in remotely listening to an audio-only meeting. If you're hearing impaired, what good is that to you? It should be visual, and there should be captions for people to participate in government. But those are just a couple of things we did. We know there's more to do, but those are like the three priorities I always try to do: is make us more affordable, accountable, and accessible.
You mentioned so many of the things that are so important. I know here at the library too, we have ADA compliant walkways and pavers in our patio and going out to the gazebo. All of those little things that make this accessible to people. Otherwise, what good is it if it's not for everybody? So I totally agree and love all of that. Are there any initiatives you particularly are excited about that you want to talk about?
Well, sure. There's so we speak about accessibility and the walkway that you mentioned. I remember I was here as a state assemblyman. I think it was probably 2018 or 19. I think then Senator Terrence Murphy helped bring back some bullet aid that helped support that project. And in the state legislature, I was more directly involved in trying to steer state funding to libraries because a lot of quite frankly, our education system is regulated by the state. But some of our more accessibility initiatives that we do in the county are tied to Think Differently. Think Differently is a call to action that really was started and launched by then Dutchess County Executive Mark Molinaro. He ultimately served in Congress, and now he's a senior advisor to the Secretary of Transportation for the United States Department of Transportation, Secretary Duffy. And that was to make sure that we thought differently about how we provide services to people of every ability. So that's physical ability, that's people with intellectual, developmental disabilities. And how we've done that in Putnam County is when we do our capital plan, we now fund annual commitments to make ADA improvements. There's ADA compliance, but a lot of folks would be surprised at what checks the box for compliance, where there's an obvious need for an improvement. One of the probably most glaring ones is when I became county executive and I'm walking into the county office building. I've been there many years, but now I'm doing a more detailed survey. I realized that if you are on a wheelchair or on crutches, or if you have difficulty with stairs and you want to go on a handicap ramp, you would have to go around the back of the building by where the newer state Supreme and county courthouse is. You have to buzz in from the basement, get the SPO to buzz you in. You have to go in past the maintenance closet, hit the elevator to go all the way to the upstairs. That is not a welcoming environment for people of different abilities. So we have a new handicap ramp in front of the county office building by the main entrance so people feel welcome. So there's things like that. We also created a new position within Department of Social Services for people with individual disabilities. So individual different disabilities. So that's important. It helps serve as a kind of a liaison for people with those need for services with the nonprofits in the area. But the most recent initiative that we're rolling out is our Early Learning Center. So and I think that's kind of on brand with our libraries, with our schools. Most people, if you ask what does county government do, they may not realize what the core functions of county government is, and that's what I am always trying to preach about so people know where their taxpayer dollars are going. But most people wouldn't realize that for children that are age 3, 4, before kindergarten, pre-K, special needs, that is a mandated service of county government where we provide early learning services for those children in special needs. Now, because we're a small county, we have largely contracted with providers to provide that service. And many of them, not all, but many of them are outside of the county. So Green Chimneys is one of them. They're in the county, right? Patterson, southeast kind of area. But many of them are outside. What that has done is created an environment where many of these young special needs pre-K children were getting services outside the county, and the county was paying for transportation services. We're one of the only states in the union where the counties pay for this, but we're paying to transport special needs pre-K children almost an hour, if not more, to get services. So that creates a very bad educational experience for them. It's long transportation times. It also costs a lot of money, lots and lots of money. So with the advent of universal pre-K in the school districts, it created this opportunity where it's now financially viable to centralize those services in the county, but partnering with the school districts for their universal pre-K programs because they want capacity to provide services. And right in Patterson, at the Hudson Valley Inter-Arts Campus, where it's part of community-based services. We're looking to roll out the first early learning center, part of our Think Differently initiative, where you'll have typical and atypical children that are pre-K. It'll cut down on transportation times. It will save taxpayer money and provide a better educational experience. CBS went through some challenging news a couple weeks ago with the torrential downpour. Natural disasters happen. They had microbursts there with, unbelievable amounts of rain in a short period of time. So the building that was not finished, right? It was a shell of a building. No improvements were done to it. No money was spent on it yet. That had a partial collapse of the roof. But the building that we were going to move into in September, that was largely undamaged. They already have it open with their employees there now. So our goal is to move in September for that. To have our program roll out with the Early Learning Center in September with a building that is safe, secure. We have our engineers looking at it. Their engineers, we're in a good place. But that is a model, I think, that's unique for Putnam because we're a small county, but it is one that when it's rolled out successful, I think other counties that are similar in scale can model after.
That is so important. I'm glad you're able to start in September as you had planned. You chose to live and raise your family in Putnam County. Why do you believe Putnam County is a good place for people to live at any stage of life, whether you're a young family, you're single, or a retiree?
I am biased. I am born and bred in Putnam County, literally. I've lived, I was born in Putnam Hospital. I've been here my whole life, public schools. My wife went to Carmel High School too. She was one grade ahead of me, but she grew up in Kent. I was in Putnam Valley. We've settled in Mayapack, and Putnam County truly is, like that shining city on the hill. Like we have everything. And when you're growing up here as a young kid, you might be like, oh, there's nothing to do in Putnam County. There's tons. You just got to look. You just open your eyes. We are one of the safest counties in America, ranked consistently now the 8th safest county in America. That doesn't happen by accident. I give a credit to our brave men and women in uniform, our police, our first responders, our fire, EMS, our dispatchers. But it's not just them. It's also our health department. But more than any of that, it's the people that call Putnam County home. They're the ones that are the biggest ingredient to the secret sauce that makes us such a lovely place to live, is that we have neighbors that look out for one another, right? We're also one of the healthiest counties in New York. We've been consistently ranked the healthiest county in New York State. So many years, they stopped ranking. And quite frankly, they still do surveys, but they don't do the top 10 list the way they used to because we've been number one so many years in a row. So there's those amenities. We do have good public schools, but there's a menu of options now for parents that want to explore other options to educate their children. And I think it's just a lovely place. You have great community hubs like our libraries. You have recreational opportunities, like there's bowling and all those other types of things. We're not that far from the city if you want to hop on the train and go to the city and have that more urban lifestyle. But we have some of the most beautiful parks, and historical assets that other counties across America are just jealous of. You have the Hudson River, we have Fawnstock State Park, we have our county parks, we have opportunities for fishing, really just so many more opportunities that make people jealous, but I'm proud of it.
Absolutely. I grew up in Carmel as well. So, I moved to Pauling about 20 years ago, but growing up there, it was a really special place, and it still is. And working here in Patterson, still big part of Putnam County for me. So I had a foot in both worlds, and really, we're really fortunate to live where we do. It really does offer so much. So I know you're a strong supporter for libraries, and even before becoming county executive, you were here reading to our Storytime kids. This summer, you launched your Talking in the Library Open Books, Open Government events at all eight Putnam libraries, and we're excited to be your last stop, which is coming up next week. The purpose of the road trip is to build awareness of the county's support for libraries. I know firsthand how impactful and how important that support is for us, for our operations here. What are your current priorities for Putnam County libraries, and how do you see us playing a role in you achieving those goals?
So what I would say is I'm glad you brought up the talking in the libraries. It's a fun little catch on the words because I always grew up saying like you're not supposed to speak out too loud in the libraries. Mm-hmm. So it's nice and fun and something I've prided myself on talking about accountability in government is making myself more accessible. So not just live streaming meetings, but in constituent forums. I did it as an assemblyman. We would do trailblazing with Byrne, and I would meet at trailheads and we'd talk for an hour, ask and answer questions, go for a walk. We would do coffee with Byrne or coffee with the county executive at a small business. We do traditional town hall forums at an actual town hall meeting, town board. And then there's the public hearings that I do. For whatever reason, the county executives in Putnam never did constituent forums like this before. It was not a foreign concept to me because I had done it already in the assembly. And I just feel that it's a small county. You shouldn't need to have a big fanfare event like a state of the county to see your county executive. You should be able to access them. It's a small county. So continuing those programs, we said, let's, it was Dane Pascacello, my chief of staff, came up with the idea about talking in the library. Why not do it at a community hub like the libraries? And that's what libraries are so important. It's the services they provide to people of all ages, which is inherently unique. Unlike the public school system, it's for people that are elderly. It's the people that are in pre-K. I mean, being a young parent, I have a 5-year-old at home. I can tell you we use the Mahopac or Mahopac Public Library plenty of times for all sorts of programming. I went to the Putnam Valley Library a little bit as a child, and it's a good place for young parents. Childcare is extremely expensive. So sometimes you're just trying to get out of the house and find what else we can do. I think it's really important. So I use the libraries to engage with the public first and foremost, but to highlight the strategic partnership that we have as a county government with libraries. So there's a number of what we refer to as outside agencies. They're municipal partners, nonprofits that have contracts with the county for services where if they weren't in existence, doing the important work that they do, that we understand and acknowledge that likely the county government would then have to fill in more of this space. And the county government would have to expand and taxation would have to expand. So a strategic partnership with our library specifically highlights how they fill gaps in services for our school system. If the school system fails and then they're on the street demanding services, then our social services fills in. Or sometimes our youth bureau fills in and it complements the school district. So I think we have creative partnerships with our Office of Senior Resources, with the Youth Bureau on training our aging population about how to access the internet, but I know the libraries do that too. And quite frankly, not everybody maybe has the ability to travel to one of our county facilities, our friendship centers for some of this service. So having libraries being supported is important. Libraries clearly have their own primary source of funding. It's one of those things most people don't realize is, and the library world knows this, is there's library districts, there's those that have contracts with schools, there's those that have contracts with towns. It's a little bit different. But traditionally, their primary source of funding is that local taxation that they can drive from. They also should be getting support from the state, which regulates education, right? State education department, they get sometimes bullet aid, sometimes construction aid. And in Putnam County, we've acknowledged that there's a role that the county partners with too. So in our last budget, in the executive budget that I presented, we had about $487,000 go to the Mid-Hudson Library System. The Putnam County Legislature enhanced that by topping it to just over $505,000, so just over $500,000. And that was what was given to the Mid-Hudson Library System, which was then spread out to support all the libraries. And the great thing about, again, accessibility and transparency, it's part of being accountable to ourselves and to the public, is you can go on the Putnam County ny.gov website, you can go to our finance page, click the budget transparency website, and you can see how much goes to every outside agency. You can see how much money goes to each department, and you can see specifically what goes to support libraries. So I think that's really important because I want taxpayers to know where their money's going. And if they think we can do better or they think we're doing something wrong, I don't want it to be some secret. I want them to tell me so I can fix it. But libraries is something we've always recognized is something of value in Putnam County.
We appreciate that. I know a lot of the funding you do trickles down to us in other ways too. We use the Putnam Arts Council grant, for instance, to do our concerts here in the park. I know the county funds had gone to our summer plays over the years. So there are so many benefits. We partner with the Office of Senior Aging for programming. we really do work together with county agencies so that we can bring resources here for everybody. So there is a trickle-down effect to everything.
And I would just to add one thing I always ask when outside agencies ask for requests for funding, because it's not grant funding, this is like a budgeted line, is I look for regional impact. Because we're a county government, I'm looking for the best interest for people of Putnam County, across the county, not just one town. And the beautiful thing about libraries, while they have that local identity, which is extremely important, and it's seen as part of that community, you don't have to live in Patterson to walk through the doors of the Patterson Public Library. You don't have to be from Mahopac to go into the Mahopac Public Library. I love seeing the parking lot filled outside the Mahopac Public Library when I drive down Route 6. It tells me that people are using it and it's taxpayer money well spent. But I also know they're not all from that area. And you get a great regional benefit that's not just to one community. But that's the best thing about libraries is it really is this collaboration within a system.
That is very true. We have many people from different towns and they look for different things. And, we always serve our community, but as you say, we serve everybody. And certainly county residents come from all over to utilize what we have here too. So, as you know, libraries rely on local and county funding to provide valuable services, including some of our digital resources. What is your perspective on the importance of continuing public investment? I know you've touched a little bit on that, but...
Sure. So I think public investment comes from multiple different revenue streams for libraries, just like you have for other special districts. So some libraries have the ability through elected trustees to levy directly. That should be their primary function, to get their primary source of funding. And then there's opportunities to get other support from the state, which they absolutely should. And the county's acknowledged the obligation and commitment to continue its partnership with giving over $500,000 to the library system that serves all of the public libraries within Putnam County. I think that's public investment through multiple different avenues. And then some have friends of nonprofits and other mechanisms to raise funding. But I think that primary place is to go through like the mechanism that each district has to raise funding. Unfortunately, it gets confusing because they're all a little bit different.
Yes.
And some like, oh, well, they can just levy taxes. And in some cases, that's true. So if for example, if a library said, oh, we're crying poverty, we need money from you. Well, what did you do within your budget? If you say, for example, cut taxes, but you're asking the county to raise taxes to give you money, I don't think that's really fair. But that's not always the case. That's not the rule. That's more well within an exception. In most cases, I think they're going to the school district, or they're maximizing their budgets independently, going to their voters, and they're looking for something to strengthen their budget. And that's how they've always used the Putnam County support, state support. When I was in the state assembly, we brought back bullet aid. I saw a sign walking in that Assemblyman Matt Slater brought back $20,000 to Patterson Library. That's awesome. I wish I could say I was able to do that as an assemblyman. I know I got something for Patterson Library, but I think it was like $15,000 maybe. It wasn't 20. But I know it goes to good use. So that's all public support. It's all public investment.
It is. And we are so appreciative of any bit of help we get here because it does go a long way. I know Matt Slater has been instrumental in getting us those funds, as were you. And certainly over the years, all of that money has been so well spent. We are very lucky to have a board and a director, past and present, that are always very transparent and very careful about spending. And we take it very seriously how we spend taxpayer dollars, and we don't ask unless we really have to. But we're all taxpayers here, so we all know what it feels like when we get our tax bill, right? So we are very aware of that, and we work really diligently to make sure that those dollars are well spent as a library. And in that vein, we are the center of the community. We serve everybody, as you said, like from infants to senior citizens, and across all demographic sectors. So having grown up in Putnam County myself, I know Putnam has always had a strong sense of community. And I get to see that here every day. I really love how I see families coming in and seniors coming in and asking what's coming up next and excited to participate in all that we do. How do you see public libraries contributing to that community spirit?
So I think it's very visible. They're those community hubs, just similar to like a school district, right? many people identify with the local school, particularly, middle-aged young parents, children. So I grew up in Putnam Valley, but I was more of a Carmel kid because I was in the Carmel School District. If you went to Kent, you even have a Carmel PO. It's 10512. So you're from Kent. The people in Lake Carmel, half of them think they're in Carmel because they go to Carmel schools and are right next to the hamlet. So libraries are similar in that they're part of that identity of a community. And I think I've also said this many times that libraries are kind of that utility arm in the public sector and government, and that when there's something that you need, a need that you need to address, but you don't quite have the tool to fit and address that need, libraries often step in. So if it's not town, village, or county checking the box, the libraries have just been very known for being flexible and trying to expand services to fit needs. So it's long gone are the days of the Dewey Decimal System and the card catalogs, and it's just books and Hogwarts going into the library. It's childcare services, sing-alongs. They got Lego Club over in Mayapack. There's all these different menu of services and support. And then for people like me, when I was going to graduate school, working full-time, and was newly married, I came back from work, and every day I came back from work, I stopped at the Mayapack Library, and that's where I did all my graduate studies because I don't like working from home. There's too many distractions. So I love that. And then there's new creative solutions and things that I just saw recently from this tour visiting Putnam Valley Library. They have Freedom the Eagle. Libraries now have mascots. I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that was really cool. And then we went to Brewster, and they have a little Brewster bear. So, and we have the Passport, day event that we're trying to, kind of dovetail the talking in the library with as we stamp our visits to all the libraries.
Road trip, yeah.
Yeah, the road trip. So I think those are all really cool things that show, how it's tied into the community, just like the fire department or anything else.
I've been here for almost 2 decades now, and I have the unique perspective of having watched how we serve our communities and others come in to use the resources that we have, like the copiers, the scanning, the fax machine, especially because they're working from home now remotely, and they need some support even on that end. And some of them just come in because, like you said, you don't want to be home. It's distracting at times, and sometimes it's also you're isolated. So we have a lot of people that come in just to be around other people. So everything is changing. We've seen the change as the program director, marketing person here. I have seen the changes, and we've tried to adapt as we go. And we really do change how we do things now compared to the way it was before. How do you see libraries? What do they have to do to stay relevant, and how can you help?
Well, I think libraries, by this community engagement, listening to the needs of their respective communities, understanding that you get visitors from other areas that come in and benefit from some of these services, that's great. But listening to the community, if there's a specific need that's not being met, I think that's the biggest issue. And technology is obviously ever changing. But I think libraries have been flexible. They do. I mean, look at COVID. When we had so many different public services were shut down, and we had to be creative. The one thing that I'll say is it tested our abilities and willingness to try new things and how we communicate. I obviously I wish it didn't happen like the rest of the world. Because I feel like sometimes you go so far that you're no longer socializing the way we used to, but it did test us. So I think now more people are doing virtual meetings, and it does allow us to be a little bit more efficient with how we communicate and provide services. On the county level, I know our county clerk does a remarkable job, Michael Bartolotti, but they ended up scheduling their visits, right, because of COVID. But then they kind of kept with some of that system because it was more efficient and user-friendly. So I feel like libraries, it's part of it, just you have to adapt with the times, but listen to your constituency, and you do that through engagement opportunities. And I think they're very good at that. And it's witnessed by seeing your parking lots filled.
What role have libraries played in your own life, whether as a student, parent, or a public official?
So I could start as a student and as a young person. I remember visiting the Kent Library, Putnam Valley Library, and benefited from some of their programs when I was really young. And as a young parent, it's kind of been reintroduced to them because I wasn't a parent when I was in the state assembly for most of my tenure. My son was born in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, May 18th, 2020. So, so I supported libraries more just as my own priorities, but I didn't necessarily realize all the benefits as a consumer or as a resident. But as a young parent, I got to see it a lot more directly. And I got to see the engagement of other young parents and their children, whether it's sing-alongs or readings, whether it's some things like Read Across America. But I see that much more directly now as a young parent. And the great thing is it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, how much money you make. It brings in all sorts of people together. So it's a beautiful thing.
It really is. And it's nice when you get to see that. And I know I came here to study for my master's and ended up taking the job. It's totally changed my life. So libraries come into your life at different ways at different times. So I'm always grateful I stepped through that door when I did. So what do you envision for the future of libraries in Putnam County, and how can your office help to support that vision?
Well, I think we do it primarily through the budget process, is what we have done when there's an identified need that's justified from our partners in the library system. And I think, libraries are very much here to stay. So I think their role has evolved over the years, and people have seen that. And it's not to compete with other roles or nonprofits, but they're constantly filling unmet needs in a population. Putnam County also has one of the largest, rapidly growing aging populations of any county in New York. It's well over the statewide average. It's almost double. And even though we're a small county, our portion of the population that's aging is significantly larger. So you're going to see people that are retired that volunteer as part of our senior corps program that do amazing things, but also people want things to do. So I can tell you, my folks are retired. They live in Mayapack now. They love going to the library. They take their grandkids to the library, but it is a great community hub. So I think you're always filling some of those unmet needs, and part of the identity of the community, and that's not changing.
That's not, and you hit on a lot of things. We have a lot of grandparents that come in to the library with their grandkids, and they help with raising their grandkids, and they're the caretakers for a lot of them. So we see a lot of people of all ages in here, and things change, and we're here for them. So what professional accomplishment are you most proud of?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. Love that. So it's hard to narrow to one or two, or just one. There's many things. I before I went into elected office, out of college, I worked for Westchester EMS. One of my favorite jobs ever was working as an EMT. Unfortunately, the pay is dirt, so you'll get nothing. But I love it because you're directly helping people. I then was on the Putnam Valley Town Planning Board, which is volunteer. I worked for Congresswoman Nan Hayworth. I then worked as a regional director for the American Heart Association, helping people with cardiovascular diseases and stroke. And I finished my master's. I worked for Caremount Medical before going in the assembly, where I fought for a lot of important things that I'm very proud of. Expanded cancer coverage for volunteer firefighters. I was a volunteer firefighter in the Kent Fire Department for 10 years. Very passionate about that. But in the assembly, because I was in a minority party in the assembly, we got a lot done, but it was a lot of it along the margins and having to convince a majority that at times would be very divided. It's harder. As county executive, my most professional accomplishment, I think, is our ability to show fiscal discipline, drive down the tax burden significantly to levels that we have not seen in recent history within this county. But I've done it without sacrificing services. We've done it by enhancing efficiencies and prioritizing spending. So some of the biggest examples, like I would say, is every elected office official or politician might want to prioritize spending a different way. I want to prioritize on public health and safety and those core functions that we are responsible for as stewards of your tax dollars. We just had a ribbon cutting ceremony to open up a brand new state-of-the-art $1.6 million fire and EMS training center right off Gypsy Trail Road in the town of Kent. when I was a volunteer firefighter, I had to go down to Valhalla for most of my training. The fire tower that you would go up and down was closed for over a decade. The building or room that you would do the live burn trainings in was intermittently open and closed because it constantly needed patchwork fixes with replacing panels. Rather than just nickel and dime this issue, we did a teardown and rebuilt this brand new building. The Fire EMS Training Center was named after Lieutenant Michael Nooner of the Brewster Volunteer Fire Department, who tragically lost his life in the line of duty back in the late 1990s in a fire, which is important because this facility is to train our new first responders. And it's a reminder of them of what ultimately can happen and why this training is so important. And why is it so important for the county government to take this obligation on? We're not mandated by the federal or state government to do this. It's technically not a quote unquote essential service, but we know practically speaking it is. We need to have a properly trained, staffed, and supported fire and EMS community. And this is an example of a shared service where the county government is providing the facility for our training to support every local fire and EMS agency in Putnam County. So if I had to signal it to one thing, that's probably a timely one. We just celebrated it, but it's a really big deal that people didn't have the courage to advance or fund in the past, and we got it done recently. And after we announced it, we got it done in less than 2 years. It's now open and people are benefiting from it.
Well, that's impressive. And like everything you've talked about today, you really have done so much. So what is next for Kevin Byrne? Where do you see your future self?
I didn't think I was going to be running for elected office at 30. I'm now 40. So I thought maybe I would get involved in elected office later in life. I thought I was going to join the military. I thought I would, maybe go into emergency services. So I had a kind of a non-traditional path to get to where I am. I enjoy being the executive in Putnam County. I have more of a direct role in making a meaningful impact in the lives of the people who call Putnam County home. So it's a 4-year term. We have term limits. Next year, I have the ability to run for re-election. I intend to do that. But beyond that, I feel I'm very blessed. I'm not tied down where some people feel like they need to run to support their family. I'm very fortunate. My wife has a very successful career, demanding career. She's a physician assistant down in Montefiore, down in the Bronx. But having a graduate degree, I got my MPA in concentrated healthcare administration. I help oversee a health department. I was a ranking member on the health committee in the assembly. I very much feel I could transfer those skills and abilities back into whether it's a multi-specialty medical group like what Caremount was, or with the healthcare industry. I feel very comfortable being able to do that. But my focus is on the here and now and making Putnam County as strong as it possibly can be. We have amazing partners at the federal and state level. I mentioned Assemblyman Slater, Mike Lawler in Congress. I work extremely well with him. He just took time out of his day to visit the community-based services building in Patterson with me to survey the damage because he's interested.
Yes.
So to me, I love this job. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't think I was the best person to do it. If I thought someone was better positioned to do it more successfully than me, then I would probably back off. But I feel that we are very much positioned to continue this great work, so I fully intend to do that. Well,
thank you so much for letting us get to know you better and letting people know just how supportive the county is to everyone, its residents, to us as a library, and the other 7 libraries with us. We all appreciate all of your support. So thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Patterson Library Connection. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us grow, please share it with a friend. You can follow and subscribe to our podcast on our website at pattersonlibrary.org, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. This podcast was recorded at the Patterson Library in Patterson, New York. Special thanks to our sound engineer, producer, and composer, Adam Bernier, our library director, Stephanie Harrison, our board of trustees, and to you, our listeners. I'm your host, Lily Misenti. We'll see you next time on the Patterson Library Connection. The Patterson Library trustees and staff do not promote nor endorse the opinions of our guests.